start. Recording started. You're up.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Welcome to Power Hour with Mike Gillis. It's my honor to share with you some information about multifamily homes. I'll be honest with you, I don't really have a very polished presentation, but I have a lot of knowledge about the subject and a couple things I want to give to you guys or show you how to do that you can take away and use in your everyday realtor life buying and selling. Buying and selling multifamilies with your customers. So I'll give you a little bit of background about myself. I'm a Worcester guy, so I've seen multifamilies since I was a little tyke and just very familiar with them. Had uncles, grandfathers, always owning them, so I was always around them. And then I grew up, went to college, got a healthcare degree, so it's only natural that I end up in real estate sales, right? And one of the bigger products for this area is multifamily homes. So I kind of got into it, sort of knowing it, sort of by accident. Graduated college, healthcare degree, got a mortgage, bought 9 Shamrock Street in Worcester. 3-family house, and the market was just screaming out of control at that point. So the realtor I bought it with and the attorney said, Mike, you got to condo this thing. You guys are familiar. They're just taking apartments and turning them into individual condos and selling them as their own deeded property, small condo complex. I made an awful lot of money by mistake on my first one and went and did it again. So I was hooked after that with real estate and multifamilies and real estate sales. So after that, I owned a couple. The market took a turn, and I thought it would be awful important to get my license and give people good sound advice for buying and selling these things. So I've got 11 years of experience. I checked. There's about 126 multifamilies for sale in Worcester right now. All the economists and forecasters of the country and the budget, the stock market are predicting that multifamily is kind of a sound investment right now. Stock market over the past month or so, it's been a little sluggish, no real huge gains, no real huge losses either, and investors are getting bored. From a grand scale to your average first-time multifamily buyer, people are thinking leverage and rents and housing. So with the housing market up, people are putting their money into real estate as sort of a safe bet for their money, their future housing. So what I see happening is a pretty clear dividing line happening with values rising and this election coming up. I think you're going to see rates rise, and it'll become pretty clear who needs to continue to rent versus who can afford to buy. So with that said, does anybody here have any experience with multifamily houses, sales, renovations? These two gents over here, I figured as much. And this guy over here who has been killing it with multifamily sales. Anybody else own one, buy one, sell one with a customer at all? Say that again? Built a ton? I don't know you. What's your name?
Jim.
Jim? I'm Mike DeGillis. Nice to meet you, Jim. Thanks for coming. Can you tell us a little bit about what you did?
Well, it was condo. First is before it was right when the market crashed. It's going to take on going building, but there were condos, 4-plexes, townhouse style. Yeah, basically. The market crashed and turned them all basically into rentals.
Yeah.
So, but I think now it's come back to the point I got out of it because pay me to sit there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a business relationship, and the market does change. But one of the mainstays is real estate will go down and go up like any other investment, but it never really goes away. Certain stocks, you put your money into it, the company could dissolve, right? So again, another driver for economists and people saying put your money in real estate. So I see next year being another good, solid, more predictable but flat year. I don't think values are going to remain on this upward trend. So what's the general mindset for customer buying a multifamily. Income, definitely.
Some people want to live in one and rent out the others, pay more.
Right. Leverage. So these multifamilies, especially around here, are 100, 130. My wife and I just sold one that was 128 years old. Things are still here. Well built, obviously. They take their fair share of abuse, but these things, I hope I look that good when I'm 128 years old, right? So if they're still rentable and still good investments, you can charge some good rent, leverage your mortgage payment, and create a good investment for yourself, especially as realtors. If we stick with this business till we are old and gray, that's our retirement plan, right? No one's going to pay us a pension or a retirement, or we don't have those type of products. So multifamilies are often thought of as sort of the retirement plan. But good way to create cash flow and leverage. And if you're living in one, now we're getting into how we can help as realtors. You see a lot of people who are first-time buyers who are approved for a multifamily purchase, right? So they're going to be living in one of these properties. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about on the buyer side a little bit, and then the seller side too. You guys have any questions on how to go about working with somebody on the buyer side? Because I think I'd really like to spend more time teaching you how to find motivated sellers for multifamilies if you want to focus on that particular product sale. Kevin?
Do buyers normally like having Section 8 tenants?
It's very case-by-case scenario with your different buyers. Some have a tolerance threshold for that because they have experience. A lot of first-time multifamily buyers, they're scared of it. So our job, as always, is just to educate. So there's a lot of education that goes into multifamilies. And I know Matteo has taught and probably will teach again a very good class about lead paint, fair housing, tenancy stuff. We're not really going to get into that, but it's a lot of questions you have to ask your buyer. What's their threshold? If you have, for example, I think someone on the team's working with a kid who's like 22 and he's right out of the military and he wants to buy multifamilies, but has no experience with them. None. No family members owning them, just thinks cash flow, equity, leverage my mortgage payment. So he's got to go through kind of a tutorial first with us. He's got to spend an hour or two with us working on what his goals are, really, and educating him on Section 8, lead paint, all kinds of things. What leases do I use, so on and so forth. So if you're not doing, whether it's a multifamily or a single family, doesn't matter, you should be doing an initial buyer's consultation with your customers. Someone sends you a referral, hey, I got a guy or a girl or a family who wants to buy single or multi, I don't care what it is. Spend 45 minutes to an hour with them, invite them into our office, sit them down, talk about their goals and what their thresholds are. That's going to give you a lot of direction as to what to research for them to help them make a smart decision. I've worked with people who thought they wanted a multifamily and ended up buying something like a condo or a single family because they just weren't educated about anything. So that's really our job as the realtor. Does that make sense to everybody?
I don't know I just know that Mike brought it up to me, and I don't know if it's how to word it, but a lot of people might not know this. I guess he had somebody that was interested in looking into a multifamily, and prior to that, he was looking into a single family. So when he went for his mortgage, he was only allowed so much money. Mm-hmm. But I guess there's like when you go for a multifamily, because of the income, they get approved for more. Can you explain that a little bit more and more there?
That's really a mortgage person question, but it is important, and oftentimes, yes, I'll speak to it a little bit. Some mortgage products allow for rental income to be counted towards the borrower's income. them. Don't you have some more mortgage experience? In
Yeah,
the past?
certain loan programs will allow you 75% of the going market rental rate. So what you would have to do when you order an appraisal is order a rental supplement where the appraiser's going to have a separate section. They'll put a dollar amount that is the going rate for that. Normally be allocated 75% of that. Some mortgage programs want you to have experience as a landlord, some don't. Also, a tricky part is if you have someone lined up maybe for a vacant unit, the mortgage companies are going to require that you have a signed lease, not a month by month. And also you need a first and security money transfer already into your checking account to show that the validity of the person. So
it's kind of up to like, if someone calls me and says, hey, I want to go look at 3 families or multi-families or whatever, then I need to find out or direct them to their mortgage person to get like basically the type of mortgage they're going to be getting. I guess because on my end, I'm just looking for how much can they afford to spend.
Yep.
I don't want to waste my time, you know what I mean, if they can't afford it. You know,
Definitely, I think the FHA, you want to know too, like, it's
A type of
thing
thing,
on
right?
the FHA, you have to analyze that property very differently.
Yeah.
than you would,
right,
you know,
that too.
Yeah, so there's a lot to educate yourself, yourself on
Yeah.
first before you can help a customer, especially with a multifamily. There's a lot of research and planning that goes into it, especially when a seller, a listing agent have a multifamily for sale with tenants in there. It takes thinking about when you are going to construct an offer. I'll say this, and then I kind of want to move on to the seller side, the listing agent side of multifamilies. A lot of buyers these days are requesting that one unit at least be delivered vacant. That's important, so if you want to write that down. That's
And usually it's always the most messy one. Always the messy one.
good input,
Yeah,
definitely.
that's another thing that is gonna scare a lot of buyers away. It's the people who are living in it. Because if you're gonna go to a house, you will see crap everywhere. They're gonna be like, nope, I'm out. I had that happen so many times. As soon as they walk to the outside, house is gonna be gorgeous. You're gonna go on the inside, you see all the stuff they have, trash in the hallway, and it's not like 1 or 2 bags. You're gonna have a pile of them. They're gonna say, nope, not interested.
That can be just a traditional renter or a Section 8. Section 8 renters sometimes are really nice, good tenants, sometimes not so much. That's the question about Section 8, that reminds me of the quality of the person isn't from where their income comes from. It's like,
That is really true. Yeah.
Yeah, and just when Jeannie asked me to do this power hour, I knew this multifamily topic of conversation could go in a lot of different directions. So these are all important things. I feel like this could be like a 4-part class, really.
Yeah.
So I want to keep it on the subject of you guys and what you can take away today to use to list them, to help some buyers sell them. This is your business, so I want to get into a couple neat things. I'm going to ask Tracy's help just getting back to the other screen here because I don't want to turn this off.
maybe mouse the bottom of the screen, see if the pop up. Yeah, just about your Chrome. Okay.
Got it. Okay.
Minimize the webinar screen. Yeah.
Right there? The red arrow?
Yeah. That'll go. Oh, there you
Okay. Usually I'm notorious for like
go.
hanging up on somebody or turning a webinar off. Let me log into my MLS here. And I'll show you guys some neat stuff. Have your pens ready. So we're in MLS. Everybody's familiar with MLS. Logging in, one screen. Get pen ready? Ready to write? Fast and Furious? No, I'll go slow. Just kidding. Tools. Public records. Multifamily. So you can do this for any property type. Multifamily just happens to be probably my favorite and a very cool one. Absentee owner. What we're going to do is we're going to build a list of sellers who would, by statistical probability, be more motivated to sell a multifamily. So this is already pre-populated. First one, just because it's A, absentee owner, it's alphabetical. Type in a Y right there for yes, add. You want to, I'm sorry, let's go back one second. We're going to target an area. So if you guys are from, we're gonna use Worcester, but we're going to use a neighborhood. It's a city, a lot of multifamilies. So Dan wants to use 04. 04.
Oh, like 016 now?
Nope. We got 01604 absentee multifamily owners. So there's 961. That's a pretty good list of 2, 3, 4, and actually MLS does bring us up to 4 to 8 units. But residential multifamily, we're talking about 2 to 4 units. So the other criteria we're going to put in here are, all the way to the bottom, I'm sorry, go to the middle. Last sale date, is that in there? What price? Did they change it? Is it just sale date?
Yeah. Actually,
Oh, right there. Yeah, I'm sorry, they moved it up here. Where it's always been there, and I'm having a brain fart. Last sale date. So you want to go a ways back because in certain neighborhoods, these buildings are old. They are owned by older owners. A lot of the times, families, who kept them throughout the years and rented to family members. That's the original intent and purpose for multifamilies, right? Worcester being an old industrial revolution city, if anybody are history buffs in the room, that's why they were built. They're responsible for a lot of manufacturing and textile goods and stuff like that. That's why there are a bunch of mills, and that's why there are a bunch of multifamilies, because people could afford to own property if they did it together. And we've kind of seen the shift back to this, too, over the past 4 or 5 years. Families getting together, pooling money, buying multifamily, and owning the whole building, renting it out to friends, family members, sisters, aunts, uncles, what have you. So let's go back to this. We'll go back, oh wait, last sale date, let's do like 1990, is that too far back? To 2000? Now that's a good number of years ago. I'll whittle this down a little bit, this list. So we've got 195, so that whittled it down a lot. The other important thing here is for super, super motivated sellers is condition. Magnifying glass, we want the bad ones.
how would it know conditions? I have that. Assessor, is that an assessor's code?
I don't know.
That is.
I've just known it always to be in there. So, I mean, from fair, average, fair, poor, or fair, that's how I learned it. These buildings may possibly be vacant. The very first multifamily owner I owned, I listed and sold, was a guy who was like 82 in like Pompano Beach, Florida. He owned a 3-family on Southgate Street in Worcester, which is a tough neighborhood. He hadn't seen the property in 3 years. So I'll get into that story in a second. Let's see what we get from these results. So small list, 5 people, but This generally gives you,
Category to use, I'm sorry. I know you got off.
no, that's okay, I'll
You
give it,
check all the different ones
Yeah.
off, or was?
no, only, poor,
It's for.
yeah, god awful, horrendous, hideous, no, it's fair slash average. If you can see it, it's FA, fair average,
That's why.
poor fair, poor,
Okay.
I don't know
You
what,
checked off like 4 different ones.
4 of them in
Okay.
bad condition.
Yeah,
We're not looking for the good ones yet. So these are bad ones. 2 families, duplexes, 1 4 to 8 unit building, and another 2 family in 01604, which is actually a pretty good resale zip code, right? So these owners, judging by the names alone, could be older owners ready to sell. Can't keep up with the property, more motivated than other sellers. One guy actually came up 3 times. He might be an investor. Looks like he owns it with someone of the same last name. So there's 2 approaches here. Older owners, the buildings are getting away from them. They're kind of in rough shape. Maybe they live there, maybe they don't. So you want to kind of check it out. See what this is. So the property address is here, and they live, even though it's a different property address. Sometimes we're looking for people with different property addresses, and I'll tell this story now. So I built myself a list. The first person I found was a guy named Gary down in Pompano Beach, Florida. He was like 82, owned a property on Southgate Street. All boarded up, grass up to your eyeballs. So I thought, look him up. Mail the Florida address. And a week or so later, I get a phone call from him. Said, hey, got your letter. Yes, that's my property. Great. When's the last time you've seen it? I haven't been back to Worcester in 3 years. Oh, that's interesting. Building's all boarded up. Looks like someone's in there or squatting in there. Again, it was a pretty rough neighborhood. You ever consider selling it? Yeah. I'm not going back to Worcester anytime soon. Great. Mind if I came up with a price and we could probably work something out? Yeah, no problem. Do you have pictures? I do have pictures. I'll email them to you. I'm 82. I don't do email. Print out, physically mail this gentleman pictures. Said, wow, okay, it's pretty bad. What do we list it for? 60 grand. It was, rough shape, bad neighborhood, bad time in the market. So, yep, get rid of it. Listed, sold, cash, sale, but went a little bit higher than 60, in 30 days to an investor who bought it, still owns it. I know the guy. So that whole sale took 30 days. Cash, quick, motivated, junk property, don't want it. So if you're looking for leads now, we're going to build you a list of people who would be motivated. Again, there's a lot of loan products out there who help owners do a renovation to bring it up to a nicer condition. Investors want these better deals so they can create flow, equity, improve it, investment. So that's sort of the strategy here. And we're going to build this list for you guys. And you can do it. You can do it for any property. But multifamily just seems to be a really good one. Which brings me to my next kind of suggestion is work smarter, not harder. If you see something like this, same name, 3 properties, I'll tell you another story. I have a lot of stories. I've been doing this for 11 years. So I met an investor in 2009. They came into the Worcester marketplace, built a relationship with them. They bought $2 million worth of residential multifamilies. 2 units, 3 units, 4 units. They even bought some bigger ones, which I've ended up selling for them too. It's commercial, but they bought a bigger portfolio of properties. That portfolio is worth probably about $6 million now, and for the past 4 years, they've been selling it off, only with me as their agent because they know me and they trust me and vice versa. So they've been listing and selling 4 to 5 properties a year with me. Over the past 4 years, I've made $156,000 in commissions off this one customer. So if you can find people who own multiple properties anywhere, Worcester, you can go up to Fitchburg, Leominster, the cities, Lowell, Lawrence, of course Boston, you have people who own a lot of these things because they really believe in the real estate investment, and those portfolios are, they're not as attached to them. I was telling Brian earlier, if you have one owner who has one property, it takes some thinking about and takes them a while to decide to sell it. If you've got an owner who owns 100 multifamilies, they're property traders, just like a stock market trader would be, but they're more likely to sell a chunk of those properties without thinking about it for too long, just to free up some capital and do another project. The money rolling. So those type of people are awful interesting to build relationships with as well.
Download the list. You could sort it on Excel and see quickly by last name. You could sort the column by last name or name and find out if it has like a bunch of properties.
Yep. And this list got whittled down a little more than I would have liked. Obviously, I want to build a fairly big list. So this is just 01604, but you have to look here too, that last sale price. Most of these people probably own nothing on their house. So with the market being up, you can tell them, we don't know what the market's going to do. Market's up now. Would you want to cash out of this thing? If people are older and have lived in a multifamily their entire life and always dreamed about getting to Florida and retiring there, that dream is a possibility. So you've got to kind of position it as such. Does that make sense? Everybody writing this stuff down?
The one I have now is a prime example. She's owned it for 29 years and taken money out of it over the years, probably the last 5 years. It's a retirement. So right now her mortgage is $200, and she wants to take the last $100 out of it. That's a retirement. So for some people, it was a retirement account. They bought it 25, 30 years ago. It's paid itself off now, and now that's a very nice retirement account that it's not that easy to get cash out of when they need cash out of it. So a lot of times they just want to sell it, liquidate it, put that money in the bank, and draw off it as they wish.
So what I'm going to do here, too, is get rid of just this bad condition multifamilies, and we'll give you just a list of decent, good, and that list is much bigger, obviously. This is a list of 195 leads of people who bought or sold their multifamily that they're living in or not living in between 1990 and 2000. You think they might be ready to sell by now? And again, I'm getting into a different class. They might be sick of tenants. They might have to do, lead remediation stuff that the city's making people do these days, and they don't want to do it. They just wanted to own a multifamily and use it as a tool to get where they want it to be. So these people all probably have a lot of equity. There's probably cash flow. The buildings could be in good or bad condition, but they may be motivated to sell. So like what I do, or I have our team admin do, is go through and pluck out these ones that are showing 0. They probably own nothing on the property. And again, with the market up, there are some multifamilies out there. I think Mark and Matteo have even sold a couple recently. Anybody else? Maybe Brian too. Dan, they're selling for like $300,000, just 3 families. So the market's really strongly back with multifamilies. That turns into consistent paychecks for you guys as a listing agent. Is that useful stuff?
And another thing is, don't be afraid to do open house on the multifamily. I benefit from that.
Yeah.
Crazy. Out of one open house, I had 5 closings.
Really?
Yep.
I wouldn't have thought to do that.
I told Brian to do one for me. He's like, nah, it's in a good. I don't want to die today. And yeah, I got another buyer out of that. And on one of them, I double-ended. So.
Me neither.
Seriously?
And
No, it's awesome. It's awesome.
When on the last couple I just sold, I basically designed it so that I have 1 hour during the week, say Tuesday 5 to 6 and 11 to 12 on Saturday. That's it, no more showings. If the tenants like that,
Yep.
Yeah.
I like that, and I don't really care about the buyers. And doing an open house is very similar. You get everybody there at once, so you're not disturbing the tenants. You say, listen, I just need to be here Saturday or Sunday for an hour.
Yep.
They even did it on the 6 families. It worked.
Okay.
Yeah.
How
You
do
know?
you do it by yourself?
Well, you kind of just gotta group people. You know what I mean? Like you guys gonna go in here. Usually tenants like to be home for that, so you know they're gonna be the ones watching the
Okay.
people go in, and I usually stay on the bottom. Later, I meet them on the back hallway. So when they go in the basement, you guys are free. You know what I mean?
Okay,
In the basement, what you gonna do? Still a heating system. You know
Right,
that would be a little
okay,
tough.
that works.
So you know after
So the
that,
tenants don't mind being there and they understand that they're gonna
No.
come through and look and.
you gotta explain it to the tenants from the beginning. Listen, I'm gonna call you every day to try to schedule 5 showings for every single day, or I can come once a week for 1 hour. We can, have traffic come through, and this is it. What they're gonna choose. Have you butter them every single day, or just come there on Sunday and do it? I choose the Sunday any day, and it works. It really works. And then you get all kinds of people also into it because many people are looking on Trulia, Zillow, and stuff like that. They see open house, they are like first-time home buyers or something like that. Oh, I'm gonna go check it out,
Yeah.
And then they see what's in there, Then you start your conversation, do this, do that, and boom, you have a new
Yeah.
buyer.
You do the typical thing where you have them sign in and
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
like that.
Oh yeah.
That's a great suggestion. I'd never thought of that, but it is a really good idea. Thinking about it for a second, if you're doing an open house at a multifamily, there's usually other multifamilies around, and just by pure saturation of demographics, more people are going to be there, more leads. So from a realtor or an investor's point of view, more is always better. It's a great suggestion, Dan. Thank you for sharing that.
Not a problem.
It does bring me to my next topic of how to show and sell the multifamily too. It is coordination. Get friendly with the tenants. Where I found a lot of success is accompanying showings. Knowing the product, going through it with the seller. Not everybody likes to accompany showings. Not everybody likes to go to certain neighborhoods, but it is useful. It is a sales business, and we have a job to do. So when you go there with a buyer's agent and their customers, and you can walk them through, and if you're already friendly with the tenants, it smooths the sale out a lot. So get friendly with the tenants. That's suggestion number one with the tenants. Suggestion number two is those tenants could be potential buyers. They might want to buy the property they're already living in. If the owner's selling, I like living here. I want to buy this. If not, and they're scared of the new landlord who might come in or the new owner who might come in, maybe they'll want to go buy a little single family somewhere else with you. So kind to the tenants.
And another suggestion is if they are, you are being nice and kind to them and all that, they are still being tough with you, tell them, hey, for your time, after we're going to sell the house, we're going to give you $100. Oh, I just got to be here for an hour, do nothing pretty much and get $100. Oh yeah, trust me, those doors going to be wide open. I had that on the 6 families, nobody like, they didn't want to be there. Sometimes they will be like, yeah, I'm going to be there. They didn't show up. Later, well, as, for your time, we're going to compensate you. Yep, I'm going to be there. Oh, yeah. Since then, they always have been in the house. And, of course, owners, they're paying the $100 or $50. But it works. It works.
Yep. So I'm sorry, I actually kind of skipped ahead. I got to go back a little bit. We built this list for you guys, and where I found success generating leads is a mailer a lot of times, because a lot of the multifamily owners now, especially who have owned it for a long while, don't necessarily live at that property. They own 53, they live at 51, so they're not all that far away. But let's try to find somebody real quick if you can. Maybe lives somewhere else. No. 14, they live at 612. There's one. So they own 52 Northborough Street. They live at 401 Main Street, Shrewsbury. You know where to send a letter. Do a nicely done up letter to these people, and you've got to kind of do a volume of them. So a bigger list is always better. And from the letters, it should start generating calls. As it's generating calls, make sure you're compiling all the information and suggesting, hey, I don't know if you ever thought about selling your multifamily over at 52 Northborough Street, but it's a great time. The market values are up. A lot of people buying these things right now. Have you ever thought of selling? Just planting that seed. They might not be ready right away, but as you go through your list, you'll get a lot of people who say, yes, I am. I'm old. I want to move away, or I've owned it for a while, and I don't want to be a landlord anymore. It's not for me, et cetera, et cetera. So build the list, work the list. Mailers worked for me. You can knock doors if you want. I know not everybody likes to do that, but if you build yourself a smart list that's focused on one particular area, and you can get owners in front of you, that's our job, is to generate leads and listings for ourselves. Does that make sense? So once you've met with the owner, you started to build some relationship, you list it. What do you list it for? Getting into your CMA, you're going to suggest a price, and commission-wise, I would suggest 6%. No questions asked. Yeah. 6% because it's usually 2 to 3 times the amount of work. If you're talking to tenants, 6% also helps them pay it off, like pay off the tenants. You're going to line their pockets a little bit with $100. 6% is a really good listing price. Oh, I have a friend who would do it for 5. Okay, great. 6%. It's like selling 2 to 3 houses stacked on top of one another. So you've got tenants and the owner who are probably going to reach out and ask you questions and call you. There's a lot of opportunity there, but there's a lot of work involved too. So 6%.
Mike's point, tenants have no best. They know there's no benefit for them. They keep taking it.
Or the very least,
Yeah.
and that's going up from 2,000.
Yep, and that's why it's so important to communicate a lot with the tenants, with the owner with the tenants, and vice versa. Everybody's got to be on the same page. So if you're speaking with an owner that you find, tell them to let the tenants know a little bit ahead of time that this is going to be coming.
My opinion was and it's common, So
Yep.
definitely, Jamie's got a good idea. Give them, I think usually it's like, cooperate with us. I'll do my best to give them good recommendations to you. A lot of them still won't cooperate.
Yep. Yeah, it's a good suggestion. So you have to be really smart about playing nice and being kind with everybody, and fair too. So it's a lot of work, whatever you need to do to keep communication lines open so you can do your job, really. Inevitably, people are going to get upset about something. I didn't know there was a showing. No one told me. You'll have those tough tenants who dig in and won't open the door. You'll hear them. They'll be there. They'll be home. Music will be on. Yeah, someone took something from me. I mean, you've all probably heard a couple stories here or there, hanging out with the agents in this office and around, and horror stories of friends and families who own families. Like, there can be some tough tenants.
Usually if they don't want to open up the door, their excuse is, oh yeah, I was in the shower. So you knew we are coming at 5, but you decided to take a shower at 4:59, right? Okay.
Yeah,
So many times.
stories,
So many
and it
times.
happens. It's funny afterwards. In the moment when you're trying to show a customer a building, or you're trying to sell a building for a customer, it's not so funny. So communication, whatever you can do to kind of grease the wheels, within reason, within, you know, the legal
Now,
confines of the law.
I'm sorry, play nice until they tell you not to play nice. Really be helpful and say, listen, my job is to sell the property. I want to make it as easy like, as possible. I don't want to disrupt your life any more than I have to. So I'd like your cooperation. If you do what you're talking about, just one time during the week showing, that's great. If if they're not on board and you think they're going to be combative, you say, listen, I really need you to reconsider. I want you to help me because the owner coming through, they have an option. If the tenant's easy to get into, they might want to keep that tenant. If that apartment is difficult to get into, that's what they're thinking as soon as they buy that property. Put them into the buyer's mind. And they might say, "Okay, maybe I should play ball, or they're going to kick me out. Guaranteed as soon as they buy it. Tenants in a package for it.
Yep. So there's a lot of hurdles to clear with multifamilies when you're the buyer or the seller agent. So raise your hand for me again. Who's done one? Bought or sold themselves or with customers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like half the room. So you guys might decide that, thanks, Mike, this was eye-opening. I don't want to sell any multifamilies. I'm going to stick to condos and single families. Or it's hot.
They're pretty hot.
It's hot right now, but it is a lot of work. So I think I wrapped up a little early.
Do you have any suggestions on material to read, places to get information, to learn more about it, or
For multifamilies, I hang out with Matteo. I go pull some drywall down, paint, grab a paint can.
Last Saturday, they had the Worcester Landlord Summit.
They did, that's right.
If people could have gone to that, that would have been great. But basically, the Worcester Landlord Tenant is a book.
Yeah.
That's like the best advice. People really don't know what rent should be. They just guess.
Yeah.
Go to rentalmeter.com. You take in an address, a number of bedrooms, and it tells you what it should be on average. What is it again? Rentalmeter.com.
But what's it based on? Where do they pull their?
Area
I
rents,
don't know where they
yeah.
pull it, but it's, what I'll show you, little marks.
Gives you a little
The
dial.
address and what it's the best thing.
Gives you a
ever.
map
Yeah.
and a dial of what other people have charged and gotten for rent, and it tells you if you're high or low. It's like almost like a thermometer where it's like
Yeah.
red, yellow, and green. So
It's the best tool
Yeah.
I use. And when I'm listing a property and owners had it for 30 years, and the tenants are paying $500 or $600,
Yeah.
the rent should be $950. I basically put that right in. I get the note saying I'm not supposed to say brand, but I'm not the one picking those numbers. It says average rent ought to be per rental meter.
I give printouts of that, what rent should be for a market area,
Tool.
to customers, and I use it for my own tenants. Because my tenants will sometimes say, "Oh, we're paying too much here." I'll give them that, and it's $100 below market rent, and it kind of quiets the crowd a little bit. So
Before I take any investors out, I make some boxes.
Oh, really?
You can't. You have responsibility.
This is real estate class, you went over a lot of that. Scared everyone into never being a landlord.
So you just have, like, those you talk to people on property, you have to do by the book. You're right.
Yep.
Yeah. You might win, but it's going to cost you.
Yeah.
Even if you win a judgment, it's about collecting.
right, yeah, there's a lot of pitfalls. So it can work out beautifully too.
Like, is there a place to go to, like the housing court information when a tenant is nervous about what's the worst case scenario? What are my rights? Would I have to be out? How many days around the closing? What would you say to a real nervous person to actually what could happen?
When it's
Yeah.
listed, like
Yeah.
before it's listed, you're talking to the
When
tenant.
it's listed and you're doing showings and one person's just so nervous, wondering,
What's
if
going to
it's
happen?
sold, when do I have to be out? Are there any laws that protect me? Do I have a certain time frame?
There is, there are laws that protect them. The
Yes.
tenants' rights are pretty solid. However, you might want to shy away from that question.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna-
Refer it to an attorney, because if you give them information, you could be hurting the seller, or you could be hurting the potential buyer. It just is.
Owner, yeah, that's what I was gonna
Talk to
say.
the owner, or call an attorney.
I was hedging on that because I wasn't sure which hat I was gonna wear to answer that question as
Okay.
three-family owner or realtor. As realtor, you're gonna have to talk to the sellers about, your game plan going forward. You're their tenant. That's an agreement you have in place with them, not me.
Okay.
Some kind of that word. I had one shoot there. My landlord offered a huge incentive out in the eviction processes. So, better than fighting, you pay for this much rent, I'll hold it. And I'll pay another much rent. That's what I'm paying them.
Landlords cash.
That's what she's exactly, and many people do it. Many people do it.
But have your attorney, the attorney should be involved in that. So they still serve the proper documentation, when the list is fixed and all those things. So that the eviction process moves forward, even though they're offering them to help without it.
You don't do both at the same time.
Yeah. You can see how this can go into another hour of
Yeah.
hour separate class of just that, just tenant law.
Let's sell multi
So-
Don't get involved in rentals.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep, exactly.
How do you feel about multifamily, like, I guess we're off topic, but renting out multifamily, investing in multifamily or investing in single family stuff? Find it safer owning, I know you've owned single families.
Right. So depends on who you are.
Yeah.
You think economies of scale for a three-family or more units, one roof, one driveway, multiple rents, multiple apartments and income. Better economy of scale. Single family, you generally get a higher caliber tenant who pays a bit more, but if they stop paying, that's it. And it's the same amount of work.
If somebody's coming to you and say, well, considering a multifamily, do what Mark says, have them learn about it. And if they're going to buy a multifamily as a stepping stone to go somewhere else, I always recommend they go for a 3 or 4 family. If it's 5 or more, it's a commercial type home, so it's harder to get. But if they're going to be a landlord with 1 tenant or 2 or 3 tenants, what's the difference? They're going to be a landlord. They're going to have to learn how to deal with people. A lot of people, I just want to buy a 2-family. And be a landlord, go for it.
You might as well go for it, right?
Absolutely.
Do you use some general values, scenarios for valuing multifamily, like 2 units of income should cover the cost and that's the value, or are they going beyond that now? I know for a while, most investors want to pick them up so that they can cover the costs with 2, but I think that's changing a little right now.
Yeah, I can give you a couple different the way people think about the multifamily type of things. Is if you're talking stacked traditional 3-family,
Yes.
investors want to pay right now between like 60 and 70 grand a unit. Retail, if you've got a family who's buying a 3-family, they'll pay up to about 100 grand a unit. Mark just sold one, I think, a couple months ago. I did too, for like 290, 300 on Vernon Hill, right? So you can do that. Gross rent multiplier is an easy one if you guys want to write this down based on income, and you can do this for any number of units really, is monthly rent. So for all the units, number of units, I gotta write out this equation myself, so just tell me that again.
Yeah, can you stop from the
Yep,
beginning
let me
again?
start over.
Sorry.
Let me start over.
First one, multiple.
Yep. Gross rent multiplier, RM, number of units, times the rent unit times 12 per month in the year times 8 times 8 equals value.
We got the
80-20 loan to value.
Okay.
So if somebody's putting 20% down, they're financing 80%. Banks are generally
You say 8 or 8%?
8
Just,
times 8.
okay.
I wrote down 8%.
Come on, man.
Right. Don't look at what I'm
Right. At one point, they were up to almost 10, right? As a rent multiplier?
Some of them, it depends on the type of multifamily or mixed use commercial and location. Like Boston, yeah, I'm sure they do 10%. Out here, 70% for value. So, you know, if you've got 3 units, there's a lot of 3-family examples because there's a lot of 3 families around here. $1,000 per floor, it's $3,000 a month in rent times 12 months. It's $36,000. Very quick calculator. 36 times 8.
88. 88.
288 roughly for value.
Overpriced.
Almost 3,200 of that.
$1,000 a month.
1,100. I think I'll get the exact numbers. It's a little bit more than 1,000.
Yeah, if you could do that, that would be good. Because it says $1,000 per unit on MLS.
You
Yes.
tell the buyer, and they're like, I
Bring it
want
off.
to buy a
I
single
will
family.
do my
or
best.
multifamily. Always have to buy multifamily. They go to be, they're now an investor, stay with a single family. So they go to buy their 20%. But if they buy the multifamily first, they can buy the rest of the option. And then still be able to qualify for another type of low down payment loan on their single. But if they buy both single family first, you're never going to convince the bank that your primary residence should be a single family. Have that conversation. They're thinking they want to buy property.
And again, that alone goes back to your very first conversation with buyers. Please, 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 I'm asking you, have them in for a buyer consultation. Figure out what their goals are and what their end game is. And sometimes, you know, people in their 20s and even early 30s are not thinking end game. Like, you have to kind of paint the picture for them. Where are we going? Where are you going with your life? What makes sense as an investment? It's a big investment. So.
And another thing is, like last year, one of my buyers, he's only actually 24. He purchased one right off of Vernon Hill. And this year, he wanted to buy another one with another FHA loan. But if you want to buy another multi with the FHA loan, you need to already have 25% equity on the first one you bought last year, or you need to do a conventional. So that's another thing you got to tell them, because like on the beginning, he was like, oh, you're just going to keep buying them every year with the FHA loan. But you got to look at the equity first you have in the house before you can actually do that.
I think we do it.
You can do a conventional to buy another one,
Yeah.
but if you wanted to do it with the FHA, but he cannot do that because he didn't gain the 25% in the equity.
Well, they should work with one lender. Just like they work with one of us, work with one lender that can help them through the whole scenario.
That's what he did. But if you buy a house in a good condition, there's no really any way to build equity, especially when you did it 3.5% last year on it. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So, 2 ways: wait longer, or put 20% down.
So again, another chapter in the what's going on with multis. The financing, the tenancy, the fair housing, the lead, you could go on and on for a week straight. We could teach classes for multifamily. Does this give you guys something you can use today to start building your list of who to approach for potential seller customers? Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Can I get a yes?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Thanks, Mike. Great
I
job.
think there's going to be a lot of turnover in multifamily in the next few years. You know how many people bought multis for 100, 110, like 5, 6, 7 years ago? that are thinking, right now, they've stuck with a lot of equity. A lot of them are thinking, refinance and buy another one. So you don't sell it, but you sell another one. Or sell that one and buy a bigger one for 60. Some of them,
Well, then,
if they 1031 exchange the equity and they have 100,000 of equity, they can leave it in the next property. That's enough to buy a 8-10 unit building.
Yep.
That much money.
Yep. And again, the other way to go about that is to work backwards into it and find a portfolio owner or a group who owns a lot of multifamilies. The one I had mentioned before, no, they're another one. They have sort of their own listing stuff that they do, but the one that I work for is Sedona. That's my customer. They
Don't
own.
touch it.
They don't touch
You
it.
guys have noticed.
No, we have such a strong bond that you guys could approach them and they'd say, no thanks, I work with Mike. I've been working with them for 4 or 5 years. So you work and you work and you work and they're selling 2-family, 3-family, 3-family, 2-family, 3-family, 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 3-family. And then they go, Mike, we got this other big one we want to sell, 14 units. Let's list it for $1.1 million. Sold. 2014, 2015. That's a nice sale to have. Guy out of New York and his group bought it. Very easy. 25% down, financed it with a local lender. Closed in, I think, almost 3 months, but
So I have a question.
big fat commission off of that one.
So counting 5.5 units, that's going to be a commercial loan. So as a, it's considered commercial. What is the commission you going up to? Like the 6%, or are you going to go up to 10%?
On commercial?
Yep.
We're not talking about commercial.
Okay, buddy, you
You're just
sold
doing-
14 units. That's
Yeah.
commercial, right?
Yep.
So does the commission also change, or you're still charging them as regular, multifamily?
They're my guys. They list everything with me, so I give them a discount. I did that one for 4.5%. $1,000,001 at my side of the commission was a good payday.
Open now.
There's an agent in New York last year that did a big 1031 exchange deal with 50 deals in 1 day. All closed. Had that closed 1 day because the 1031 exchange, and they made like $250,000 in a day.
Good day. Yep.
how much hair do you have left?
Probably not much hair.
Yeah. Say that.
That's it, you guys.
Right.
Thank you.
Mike.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.